Good morning.
Good morning.
I am happy to see you all and happy holidays to you. And first, I want to thank everyone for coming, especially my panel here this morning. We are here, and we are Arkansas Land Community Development Corporation. And I am going to be your moderator this morning, and I am Jamie Williams, farm advisor, and I'm located in Forest City, Arkansas, at 831 North Washington in Forest City, Arkansas. We're gonna start with the opening. Larry Lofton, Division Director from Farm Services.
Good morning. And thank everyone for attending today to join the meeting that we've set up for you. Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation is committed to serving small farmers, underserved communities, African American farmers. And you will see on your agenda that it's some very interesting topics have been outlaid for you today. And we have with our partners and supporters here today who will provide you with valuable information into the services and programs that are available. We work in 42 counties in the state of Arkansas, as well as several counties in Tennessee and Mississippi, the Tri State area. And under the leadership of Dr. Calvin King, who you will hear speak today, we have been working to help underserved communities for over 40 years. Dr. King has a wealth of knowledge about the organization, as well as the problems that have occurred over the years through a lot of farmers not being able to access the services that were available to them. He understands that very, very well. And our organization is trying to bridge a gap between the services that are available and the communities that need those services. So please sit back, enjoy, ask questions, and learn what's being presented today. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you heard, Larry Lofton described and gave you knowledge about the mission statement as who we are, what we value, our vision statement, what we want to become, and our strategy, how we will achieve our vision. And also our goals and objectives, how we gauge and gauge our degree of success. And Dr. Calvin King will come and give you all of those with the division, our farm division, our rural development community initiatives, and let you know, we are partnered with USDA, the housing department, our drone technology. We're going to give you knowledge of that to take back with you and to spread the good news as well, or air property, challenges for air properties owners and protecting your legacy. And we also have youth program. So he's gonna give you more territory of what we are about.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. You know, I was very pleased to see one of our program participants that we worked with in 1995 to become a beginning farmer, and he attended and went through one of our training programs and became a beginning farmer. So I was really pleased to see that and see your participation here. And I just wanted to express that, you know, here from while I'm speaking. The other thing is, as Ms. Williams gave reference to, we do have our farm program service division with Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, and it works in various areas. Everything from access to financing for farming operations, beginning farmers, existing farmers. We work with farmers in dealing with appeals. We work with farmers in dealing with renegotiation and reconsideration when it's necessary, if that possibly has been an error, if there are concerns as relates to application processes and things that individuals may have applied for with USDA or with a private sector, either one. You know, we've dealt with it both in the public sector and the private sector with bank operations as well as other type of financing institutions. Just those things are things that's allowable in the process of accessing services. The other areas that we work with air property, and I'm going to talk some about air property. And it's not just what we do with air property, but USDA has been very proactive in things that they have started to do to address the air property issue as well. And a lot of people from the public perspective do not understand that or know that. The availability of the resources and how to access those resources that's being made available, that was a part of the 2018 Farm Bill, the financing tool that they have there put out now. The other part of that, with air property is that air property can be a barrier in a lot of ways. Whenever you start to talk about accessing resources, be it with USDA, public or private type of financing institution, as well as the other program services that may be available through other agencies. So air property is the other area we work with outside of the financing aspect of conservation programs is the other. I work with individuals to understand the availability of the conservation programs that are being offered, how they can benefit them from a farming operation perspective, either as an existing farmer or individuals that are interested in going into farming. And for individuals to be very mindful, farming now are opportunities that's offered in farming, and I call it the more or less the new territory. And it's not territory from the perspective of being explored, but it is the territory now that offers an opportunity for individuals who want to be a farmer. We're not talking about thousands of acres and what they call the micro-urban farming operation. When I was growing up on the farm, they didn't call them urban farms. I lived on the farm, I still live on the farm. They didn't call them micro farms. It was small farms. There was a book that was out at one time called Living on a Few Acres. Of course, now we did row crop farming and had a pretty diversified type farming operation, everything from livestock. And then we had what we didn't call it, again, urban or micro farm. They call it a truck patch. I don't know if y'all have ever heard that terminology, truck patch, back years ago, but my family, there was 11 children, but man, we had the largest truck patch, and our truck patch in comparison to some of the urban farms would be a large farm then, but we grew all different types of vegetables on the farm in the truck patch, both market perspective from a home perspective, as well as sales that we made. We grew okra, we grew cucumbers, we grew squash and things of that nature because there was a co-op that was involved. But just some of my background and my experience in growing up. So urban farm is one of the other areas, and we'll talk some about that. But let me start based on how I've been instructed and based on what the agenda itself is actually calling for. One is on the prosperity communities. And I have made a big mistake here. I started talking too soon. Now, there are 2 weak points I had. One is to get ahead of myself, and the other to talk too long, and some say too much and too long of questions when I ask the question. So I'm going to turn this back over to Ms. Jamie Williams right now and let her bring the next person to the stage, to the platform. Ms. Williams.
I have to take some of that credit because I spoke on what you were going to do and going to say, and you just took over. That's okay. I know that's what you do. And you're good at something. Okay, I apologize, Ms. Irby. We're gonna have the welcome from Dorothy Irby for the mayor here. All right.
Is it okay if I just stand
Yes.
here? Because I can speak loud enough. And the very fact that you went on tells me that you're welcome. You feel welcome. You feel welcome. And of course, I am not, for those of you that don't know, I am not Mayor Melissa Logan. However, she, unfortunately, she had to be at another, scheduled engagement. She's in Little Rock, as a matter of fact, she's not even in town. So I'm just here to stand in her stead to just, offer a welcome to you today to the, Land and Community, organization. And I did get an opportunity to kind of look over your program and some of your resources, and they are amazing. And I'm looking forward to what you have to offer today to our community. And I believe that it will be beneficial to many of us to get this information and to follow up on it and to even share with others in our community that are not here today, perhaps that are at work or whatever. But I'm looking forward to the information coming from Mr. King and the rest of the panel, answering questions. And on behalf of the Honorable Mayor Melissa Logan, we welcome you to our great city of Blytheville here in Arkansas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Irving. Right.
Okay, I think it's back on me.
You're back in charge.
It's my time. Ms. Irving, let me express my sincere appreciation, from Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. One, for you being here and representing the mayor. And the other, let me say this. When we are given the opportunity to come into a community, our starting point is always with the mayor's office and at the county level and the local office areas. So that's our first point in dealing with a point of partnership and engagement, at the local level. In addition to that, as a point of follow-up, and why that's so important for us, and Ms. Irby saying she had gotten information, so she has learned something about the organization, what we have to offer and what we do. That's very important for us, because it's not just learning about us and what we do, it's also learning about what we do and how we do it with our extended partnership with USDA. So if individuals, we see that as an information center coming from the local official's office, knowing the organization, knowing they can refer individuals at the local level to the organization, and our staff takes it and work from there. We may do either a referral or get back with the USDA agency once we've identified exactly what it is that they're trying to do or they want to do. And then we work from that perspective, both with the client as well as back with the USDA partnership that we're engaged in. So I just want to say that again, Ms. Irby, really appreciate that. And this is what it's all about. So we're very pleased to have you as a part of both the agenda and hopefully some of the other things that I will talk about. Having a better understanding of those things that can be both very beneficial for the city of Blytheville, the citizens of Blytheville, and how we can work even as a follow-up to take advantage of some of the other opportunities that's available to you who are participating as citizens. If it's in housing, if it's becoming an urban farmer, and it may be other areas as well where we engage Small Business Administration and other resource agencies that are out there that may be outside of USDA. It may be with Federal Home Loan Bank, which is another partner that we work with, which most of our banking institutions are a part of. And the type of resources they have to offer in partnership with the local private bank, as well as back with the local community and the local leadership here in the area. One of the things I want to just speak very briefly about, USDA offers and have done for a period of time of what they call prosperity communities. And prosperity communities is basically a process by which local communities, it could be the city of Blytheville, along with the city of Osceola, along with other areas here where they partner together to look at what all their needs are. It may be related to technology, it may be related to infrastructure, it may be related to how they see economic growth taking place, for their communities in a collaborative fashion. And then they develop a collective plan to look at how to access the resources to deal with what the goals are that they set forth. It may be home improvement, and deal with home improvement, and then that being a targeted area where those resources are, particularly if it's dealing with either new housing development, if it's housing rehab, it may be on urban farm and growing urban farm. I'm only using these towns as an example. So if there's anyone that's listening, or maybe in the audience that's not from Osceola, Blytheville, it is not to overlook, but those communities that are within a certain distance to each other, it may be growing urban farm, urban farm and what that offers as an opportunity, both from an economic development perspective, and the type of new market opportunities that can be created or grown more in your local area. So sort of what prosperity communities is about, the national office has focused on that, has used that as a tool, a particular one that you can use to create the plan and to submit it to USDA rural development, engage in all, not rural development, USDA is to the office, to the secretary's office, and then of course engage in all the USDA agencies based on what the plan calls for as relates to where the resources are within USDA. The other area is conservation opportunity. Conservation opportunities are so massive as far as what it offers to new beginning farmers, what it offers to existing farmers, what it offers to local communities. Conservation is there, even what it offers from an environmental perspective, programmatic wise, then it falls under conservation. And the application process for that, how to access most of those resources, they call them programs. A lot of people like to hear the terminology grant, but do you have a grant for that? Well, program basically means that these are program resources that's available that you can access, and in some cases, it may be a cost share type, 90% cost share. In other cases, it may be a program that a beginning farmer or an existing farmer or an urban farmer may sign up for, and the resource agency people are going to talk more about that under what they call conservation stewardship practices, or CSP. And the type of resources that's available through that program that enhances, and I say enhance, gives added value to the overall farming operation, whatever size, whatever status it may be, either as a beginning farmer or as an existing farmer. So there's definitely a major added value that's given to production agriculture, to agriculture in general, when you employ conservation program services. The same thing would apply to local communities. You may have heard of watersheds, and I know in our area there was a major grant that was made available to, I think it was 3 counties that's involved to address the flooding in those communities or areas. Well, those resources were made available, and when you start to talk about soil and water management, then again, it's a conservation program. But those resources were made available to those 3 counties by Natural Resources and Conservation Services. So they're going to talk more about, and definitely more broadly, about those resources, how to access it, and of course, that sign up, and I won't say sign up because I don't want to miscommunicate anything here. And sometimes when you use the terminology sign up, people feel they can just go to the office and say, well, I want to get this program and I want to sign my name for this program. It's a bit more than that. It is an application for a process that you make. It's an application sign-up process for the program that they offer and these opportunities that I'm speaking of, and they'll give more details about that as well. I want to talk about technology in general. I know it says drone technology, but drones, I'm hopeful, is something that, particularly from the underserved community perspective, that you would seriously look at and ask more questions about drones and how drones may be utilized as relates to the production agriculture area, as relates to doing assessments on land, and it may be on their property even. And someone who has this as a service that they offer, if it's available in your area, people may live out of the area and they want to get a surveillance of their property and get pictures taken and send it back to them. Because what happens to land a lot of times, and those who live out of the area, people lose land because they're not paying attention to what's going on the land. And you can lose land that way. And by law, they call it adverse possession. So people who have contact with them, they know someone locally, so I just wanna know what's going on my land and, know what it's like or what it look like now. The person doing a description part of that, from a talking perspective, and we do have a drone program. There's the reason I'm speaking to this, and hopefully we can get more interest, in our service area and where others will be trained through our training center in how to get people certified in the local area in the utilization of drones and get that licensed people in the area. Even cities can use the benefit of drones in dealing with security and a number of other ways, so, and I'm just giving reference, to that as an example. You can use it in housing, I will go, and we're in housing also, and I'll speak briefly to that, but we're also in housing. Well, we use our drone technology. If I want to know, instead of I'm having to leave the office and go out and really look at the conditions of a roof or what's going on a particular roof, particularly get a notice from the insurance company, you want to see it yourself, then we have our drone technician can go out, fly the drone, send the pictures back to me. I have a specific view of what's going on with the roofing on that house, on that apartment unit, and understands very specifically what the insurance company is talking about, and that allows me to engage more in a conversation, which may be either the causes of the condition of what is occurring, whether it's weather related or other. And that's only an example. There's so many ways, but drone technology. I want to mention also as it relates to technology and use of small acreage of land. One of the growing things now is dealing with energy. And I know it's coming more to our office now, and we're going to be working more with it and engaging more with USDA on how do we access certain resources to make sure that those resources are made available to those landowners to capture this opportunity that does exist now, and where they're dealing with turbo farms. Do we call them turbo farms or just windmills? I call them windmills, from old school. But you see these windmill farms that are out now, it may be on 10 acres, 5 acres, or whichever. And that is dealing with the use of more technology in dealing with energy. And of course, that as a resource to a local community, local area supplying energy companies itself, but also individuals need to know, if you are a landowner or if you engage in air property even, how this could possibly be an opportunity, for you, and to look at that as a potential business enterprise. Again, it relates both to technology, it relates to energy, and they have the solar farms as well. So again, I won't talk a lot about that. We don't have it, but if you have any questions, you can ask me the question, so I know the question and know then that I don't know the answer, and I'll try to get an answer for you. The other area, the solution to air, we have an air property center. Now, one of the areas where African Americans have lost a large percentage of one of the largest areas of land loss with African Americans has been by way of air property. Now, I hope the audience have questions in reference to that. Are those who may be online, but our air property center work with individuals from a case intake perspective, in some cases to deal with what we say conflict resolution if it involves a family, and we can do that by way of a combination of in-person and Zoom meetings with families. I go through the process of dealing with them, understanding better what the new law is in Arkansas. Because there is a new law in Arkansas. No one individual can automatically force property to be sold as it was under the old law. You must first offer that property to any other heir or group of heirs who have interest in that property at the market value, even if they petition a court, based on their interest to receive the value of that interest from that property. But that we'll come back and talk more about. I'll speak more to that. Farm certification, and how do you get a farm certified? there is, and hopefully, particularly Mr. Irby, hopefully in the Blytheville area and the surrounding area of Blytheville, that there will be a growing appetite, I'm gonna call it appetite right now, or interest in individuals to engage in or to become urban farmers, or small farmers, or micro farmers, and understanding more of the resources available. So when I say certification as relates to farm, there's a terminology called good agricultural production practices and good agricultural handling practices. In many of the larger markets, in order to access those markets, then you have to have that certification. And you achieve that with the Arkansas Department of Agriculture farm certification, that you have good agricultural handling practices and you have good agricultural production practices. And if there are questions about that, then I can speak more to it, more in detail on the certification process, the type of practices that are involved when you talk about that. Not all crops that are produced as vegetable crops have the same certification level. I'm going to use an example. You're talking about sweet potatoes versus greens, lettuce, squash, and things of that nature. So, but we do work with individuals to write a description of, and to have that more or less as a brochure on your farm, and to work with other market opportunities that's available now through both the food bank, we call them food bank, and food pantries. How the food pantries can be specifically a major local market supply for those who decide to, or those who want to go into urban farming or become a micro farmer, a small scale farming operator. We are working with the State Department of Human Services on how we can have a good assessment of all of the food pantries and how those food pantries are work back with the state food bank. And those producers are paid by the food bank. And again, there is a process for getting established and set up for that, but you get market value of what you produce and what you supply to those food pantries. Why is that important to our local communities, particularly our underserved communities, and those where we have not seen a significant amount of economic growth? Our area from an economic perspective is not equal to certain other areas. I'm just going to use Northwest Arkansas as an example. The affordability of food. That means that food pantries can be and has the potential to serve that gap in dealing with the affordability of healthy food and being healthy food supply. That means also those individuals who want to become a part of that farming enterprise as a micro farmer or as an urban farmer, become part of the solution to addressing that issue as far as the availability and the affordability of healthy food supply in underserved communities. The last thing I'm going to give reference to is on housing. USDA rural development, I don't know if anyone will be here on that, but I'll come back around to that. But they do have resources for both renovation. I'm gonna say it's about rural development. Rural development is one of the largest resources available in the state of Arkansas and within USDA when it comes down to rural communities. They could literally build an entire community. They could do housing. They have resources available for business and industry development, expansion with job creation, infrastructure, technology, you name it. USDA rural development has it, except for agriculture. They don't do agriculture. But all the other aspects from an economic development perspective, and when you start to talk about economic development and where economic development and housing fits within the whole context of economic development, you're talking about rural development, business enterprise, job creation, things of that nature, but they'll talk more about that as well. The last area, I'm only going to mention this, and this is more as an announcement, is under two areas in the Inflation Reduction Act that is beneficial to those who are engaged in agriculture, those who may have been engaged in agriculture, and may be out of the business now for reasons in where there were discrepancies in how they were treated in accessing resources. And I say discrepancies, they said the application for discrimination. But if there were discrepancies in how they were treated or how they received services from USDA, the number in the act of the Inflation Reduction Act is called 2007. The application time period is now open. The application time deadline is January the 13th for making that application. You can make the application both online and I don't have that phone number, but the number to the state office is located out of Little Rock that provides direct assistance to individuals. And they also have people who work, come to the local communities to assist in developing those applications. But they have been, this agency has been brought in, it is called Acrylic. What's the name of the agency? Analytic. Who gave me the answer?
Larry.
Oh, Larry, okay, Analytic. See, Larry should have been a bit, not me talking about that. Analytic is the name of the organization that does the applications and provide the technical assistance for developing those applications. I know there's been some miscommunication in our area saying we were the agency doing that, but no, we are not. We only deal with public awareness regarding it being offered. We have an understanding of the application process, and that it is something that was a part of the Inflation Reduction Act, and it is a program, and I'm calling it program. It is something that is being offered by USDA by way of a third party who is administering it as a program. Now, Analytic, and there are a number of other organizations that's working with that. Analytic is the one that covers Arkansas. So that's 2007 is the name, is the actual act itself, and it's a part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The other one I want to mention, and if I have the information right, but I would say contact USDA, no contact, well, they're here anyway. They're going to talk about this probably. It's under 006. Under 006 is a major program that's been beneficial and can still be beneficial to individual farming operations that may be experiencing economic distress. Again, that was a part of the Inflation Reduction Act as well, but it allows individuals to get debt written off. In certain cases where people may not be in the business of farming now, and because of economic stress and various other reasons also, there have been cases where they have had really all of that debt written off. And that's very important, because I know senior citizens and those who had gone out of business, they still had debt, operating loans, and sort of sitting there. And they were offsetting, doing an offset on their Social Security checks. So, beneficial, then that debt gets taken out, and that's only one example. That's both for the direct loan as well as a loan guarantee program. Those individuals who can benefit from it, debt adjustment, debt write-off, economic distress, 2006, those two areas. I'm going to stop at this point, and because I'll be a part of asking more questions of the USDA if I don't get them coming in from the audience or other individuals, and we'll come back then. Thank you very much, Fred.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm going to go back and outside the door that you came in to the left, it's going to be your restrooms, and right there in the foyer where you signed in, there's snacks and beverages, water. So you are welcome to that. And it is on behalf, we're giving it to you on behalf of ALCDC, I'm sorry. So now we're getting ready for natural resource and conservation services, which NRCS. the equity and equality opportunities in the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, and the American Rescue Plan, ARP. And we're gonna have Julie Bennett. So once she speaks, we're gonna ask you to ask questions after she finishes. Thank you.
I'm Julie Bennett. I'm the district conservationist here in Mississippi County for Natural Resources Conservation Service. And so I serve the entire county here within RCS. Sorry about that. Is that better? Okay. So our office is in Osceola, but we service the entire county, and we work closely with the other surrounding counties too, and up into Missouri. So if you have farm ground that crosses county lines, we're happy to help you find the person that you need to talk to if it's not us. So NRCS began as a soil conservation service in 1935. Just as a little background, a lot of people have heard about soil conservation service. So our mission is to deliver conservation solutions so ag producers can protect natural resources and feed a growing world. We offer both technical and financial assistance to agricultural producers. All of our programs are voluntary. So that means you're going to come to me or ask about our programs. We don't just come onto your land without permission. All of our programs are voluntary. And we have approximately 2,300 service centers around the nation. So a pretty big agency, but we are located in just about every county in Arkansas. You know, I live here. I've lived in Mississippi County 18 plus years. I go to work here. My kids go to school here. So I'm very familiar with the county and its issues and its wonderfulness too. So, you know, I've been about down every dirt road and farm road you can imagine, got stuck on a couple. So, you know, and been down most of the roads in Blytheville. So I'm very familiar with the county, and, you know, we want to work with the local producers. And so this new, Dr. King talked about it a little, this new urban ag is kind of a new thing for NRCS to get into, but I am very happy to learn it with you. We've had a couple projects so far, and so I'm learning as we go, but we're very excited about it. We're kind of, Arkansas is in the process of developing what urban agriculture is and doing some definitions and then doing trainings. We're having weekly trainings right now about urban ag. It kind of really became important with the COVID pandemic, food supply and food security issues. So we want to make sure that our agency supports the efforts to increase food production, especially in, you know, I'm sure all of you have heard about food deserts. One reason it's so important in the state of Arkansas is we have a very high instance of food insecurity in the state of Arkansas. So from 20 to 22, 16.6% of Arkansas households were uncertain of having or unable to acquire at some time during the year enough food to meet the needs of their family members. So that's why we're really passionate about making sure that this is in our communities and we can add to the food stability of our area. So we want to support those growing food for their community, community-based agriculture, and helping them at the same time address any resource concerns they have on the ground. You know, we have a lot of technical background in NRCS. One thing that I'm just going to tell you that we, if you're doing a garden or an urban farm, or if you're a large scale farmer, you know, your soil type is critical to knowing what might best grow in your area. Web Soil Survey is a free service. It's a website, but if you're not tech savvy, I'm happy to run soil reports on your yard or anything. And then, of course, we work really closely with Arkansas Extension also. And if you've never done the little soil test kits from Arkansas Extension, that's really handy too. And I believe that's a free service offered to Extension. So, you know, I'm happy to help you make connections there too. So one thing, you know, you can grow more nutritious food if you know about your soil type and what amendments you might need. So that's one really important, and it's easy to do, that's a really easy thing you can do. That's a solution that, you might not know why something's not growing very well in the ground, and might be a really quick solution. I've got a bunch of different literature here with me today. One of them is this Urban Agriculture Programs at a Glance. So you're welcome to any of the, I'll probably set it down front somewhere at some point. You're welcome to any of the documents I brought today. All of our forms are available online, but we are a government agency, so we like to have form numbers and lots of acronyms, and form 6253 and form 1257. So don't feel like it's overwhelming when you start to look at some of the government paperwork involved in our programs. That's what my job is to help you through this. So take advantage of my knowledge and my staff's knowledge to help you walk through this process, because we do know all those form numbers most of the time. Every once in a while we have to go, what is that? But for the most part, that's what we do, and we're pretty knowledgeable about all of it, and we can help step you through the process and make it much less overwhelming than it might appear at first glance. So use the knowledge that you see up here today, and our staff also. So like I said, financial assistance, and we've got EQIP and CSP written down. And like I said, we like acronyms. So EQIP stands for Environmental Quality Incentives Program, and that is a farm bill program. One caveat I'd like to say, I guess, is our 2018 farm bill has expired, and so we're running on I don't even know how we're wording it, but we're running on the end of the farm bill. So we're really hopeful that we will get a new farm bill at some point in this fiscal year. It's causing a little bit of complications for us, but it's still, the programs are still there, and there is still financial assistance available. So that program, we do a lot of work in the county with. It's a very successful program in this county. And we do everything from, I have very large operations, especially with CSP. We'll talk about that conservation stewardship program. I have, 7,000 or 8,000 acre operations. And then I have, I think I have a 1,200 square foot operation that I also, so, don't feel intimidated because you see these large farms across the county. We've had experience working with everything from, backyard, urban, micro settings to large operations. So we're getting better at it every day too. So kind of the first step is obviously talking to us today. If you're interested in any of our programs, I encourage you to talk to your friends and neighbors if you know they participate in our program too. But the easiest way to kind of get started is to come into the service center in Osceola and sit down with us and talk to us about what you have, or schedule. You can just call me and I can meet you at your property. That's always an option too. A lot of times people don't necessarily want to come into the office. I do field visits all the time. So if you want, for me to look at your property and we can sit down at the kitchen table and talk about your options, that's great too. So, farm visits are wonderful. Sometimes I really like to get out of the office, so it's a good thing. You are the decision maker at the end of the day for your property. So I can give you a lot of options, but you're the final say in anything that happens on your property. We want to make sure we address plant productivity and health in anything we do. We can help wildlife habitat. We've got some different pollinator programs, increasing irrigation efficiency, reducing soil erosion, and our biggest we want to improve soil health so we can continue to grow and get high yields off whatever large or small property you have. So we want to maximize that utilization of your ground. We have over 150 conservation programs, if you can believe it, that we offer. So and I have some of that material here today too, if you want to look through it. One of the ones that's becoming more and more popular, I don't think you talked about it, but is the high tunnels, which are similar to what people a lot of times call them greenhouses or hoop houses. We used to have a minimum that was larger, and now we're kind of just making those smaller and making them more accessible to backyard. It needs to have food production, and the one thing about high tunnels is you do grow it in the actual soil. They are not, it's not for tabletops or, you're growing it in the actual soil in a high tunnel. We have composting facilities, micro irrigation, that's been really popular inside the high tunnels. Or for some of your vegetable production, the micro irrigation, which uses a little drip tape. That's been really successful in some of our areas. I don't know how familiar everyone here is with, you see when you drive down Highway 18 or 55, you see cotton and rice and corn. But, Mississippi County has a large amount of pumpkins and watermelons now. We have potatoes in certain parts of the county. We have very diverse soils here in the county. And so, we can grow a lot of stuff that you might not think about. So, as we sit down and talk about your operation and look at your soil type, there might be a crop out there that is a very profitable crop. Peanuts or something that's coming more and more into the county that we didn't used to see. So, that's one, and Eric can probably talk a little bit more about some of the alternative crops, but just because you see a lot of the same crops doesn't mean that's the only things that will do really well here. So, sorry, I'm skipping around a little. Talked about equip. You have to be an owner or operator of an ag operation. And so, that starts with going into FSA and getting a farm and track number. But once again, that's a process that we can walk you through. One thing I want to talk about is historically underserved communities. And you touched on this a little bit with USDA. So those would include beginning farmers or ranchers. That's when you have not farmed for more, you farmed for less than 10 years. Socially disadvantaged. So if you're a member of a group that has been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice, veteran farmer and ranchers, so served in the armed forces. And you also, if you qualify as a veteran, you have to be in that first 10 years of farming. And then limited resource farmer or rancher. And so that's based on household income. I printed that down, but I don't know where I put it. I think it's right around $30,000 for Mississippi County for a household, but you can check with me on that. It's total household income at or below the national poverty level for a family of 4. But those are the criteria for historically underserved producers in the county. And so, we're happy to help you and make sure that if you qualify for any of those, sometimes it is a little bit of an incentive in different ways in our programs. So we want to make sure that you check any boxes that you would qualify for. The CSP is our conservation stewardship program. That's a 5-year program. There's no minimum acreage requirement. The entire operation must be enrolled. And one big thing, which I know you touched on when we met in Osceola, was the CSP minimum annual payment has gone from $1,500 to $4,000. So especially on some of these very small operations, it's made it a little more desirable to apply because sometimes it was maybe not worth the effort at $1,500, the paperwork, yeah. So that was part of the reason they've upped that minimum payment to $4,000 a year for the 5 years. So if that's something you're interested in, I do want to say, he said about sign-up deadlines. They've not told me. Sometimes they send press releases out before they tell the area offices, but they have not given us any of the deadlines for the high tunnel, which is the hoop houses, or the urban CSP yet. But I would suggest if it's something you're interested in, let's start the conversation soon. That way you're not walking in the day before the deadline and we're trying to, I will still take that application the day of the deadline, but if we can kind of start talking about it and I can have done a field visit and you've talked to Eric at FSA, that just helps everything go a little bit smoother. So if any of these programs that I talk about, or once you ask questions, or something you're interested in, I'm more than happy to start the ball rolling as soon as we can. So once again, my name is Julie Bennett, and I've got a bunch of business cards here too. You can email me or call me. or come by the office in Osceola anytime, and we'd be glad to talk to you. So I think that's all. Does anybody have any questions? I kind of ran through it quickly today.
Yes, my name is Lenard Thompson.
Yes, sir.
I would like to talk to you about the high tone. I know I tried to get a high tone for about 3 years, and then I got a little discouraged and got completely out of the program.
Yes.
Because it seemed like in Mississippi County, there was never money available. For the
So
high
about, I'd say 18 months ago, it really kind of kicked back off, and all of a sudden they really started giving us a good bit more money. And you are correct. There was a year or two in there that there was no funds available, and it wasn't just our county. It was kind of, but they really, that's being encouraged again. So yeah, you definitely need to come
I'll
in.
talk to you.
Yes, we need to talk. Yeah. Is there another question up here somewhere? Yes.
Say hi, my name is Cynthia. That was my question also about the high tone.
Mhm. And you can go smaller now. I had some other, it used to be, I think it was 1,000 square feet was the minimum, and we can do it a lot smaller now and still meet the standards and specifications. So, the one thing, if you're in city limits that we've discovered is you need to make sure that, that the city doesn't have any, issues with it. So that's one thing, but I can help you check with that. We've done that in another town where we just went through the city council and made sure we had, sign off on that high tunnel because it was gonna be in a city neighborhood. But that's not, it's a pretty, don't be intimidated by that process. I made some phone calls, they made some phone calls, and we went through that. I'm kind of more used to doing stuff out in the middle of nowhere, but when we do have to make those, I have connections in most of the towns in Mississippi County, so we know who to call if we need to get that, if you are in the city limits. So that's not a problem. And like I said, that being able to go a little bit smaller too has opened the door for a lot more backyard high tunnels, because they're a wonderful resource. We've had, somebody in the county grows ancient grains and purple carrots, and they sell them to Memphis for, way more than I would think, purple carrots, but they sell them to these chefs in Memphis. And so, some of these odd things that, they can get a pretty high premium for are something that, and the season is extended in the high tunnels. And that's what's made them so good for people, because they can, start their tomatoes earlier, or, around here, sometimes there's an issue with drift, and high tunnels can reduce that issue of having drift on your crops too. So there's a lot of good points to the high tunnels. So yeah, come see me for sure if you're interested, because there's a lot, the funds are available again.
Julie, you mentioned something about a farm and tract number. Is if you're interested in farming or doing any farming, you have to get a number?
Yeah, and Eric's gonna talk about that. Yeah, and if you come to my office and you don't have that, I usually just walk you across the hall and, introduce you to Eric and his staff, and it's not a hard process.
Pretty much, if you want to participate with them, come see us first, because it'll make her job easier.
Is there any other questions?
I have to turn my mic on first. I have both a question and a comment in reference to NRCS on program sign up. Now, there were one on most of your programs, there's a point system, am I right? That's actually a point system. My next question is, so the more practices you sign up for, the better it is as far as the points are concerned.
Well, normally that is very true, but with the high tunnels, this new initiative actually only had the actual structure of the high tunnel in it. Now, we haven't gotten any new guidance for this coming fiscal year, so it might change again. Like I said, sometimes I learn when y'all do. So yeah, but normally, the more practices you do, the higher your application would rank.
Good, right, okay.
But the one thing I want to stress with even the high tunnels this year is, it is about food production, so the points definitely are strongly influenced by how much you are providing food to the community. So it's not just for your own household use. It doesn't have to be being sold. It can be being given to a food bank or food pantry. But the emphasis is on food production for the community, not just yourself, either in a sale, in a farmer's market, or, like I said, selling it to chefs in Memphis, or in a donation situation with a church or a food bank. So that's one thing. And I'll go through that series of questions when you apply, like, what have you, have you done this? Have you done this? And it has made a difference last year and the year before in the high tunnel points.
Right. No, that's very crucial. And that's a part of the point system as well, and dealing with local food supply. Now, I'm not gonna say give it away. Let me change that. I'm gonna say there are opportunities now for you to give it in a way to address that issue on local food supply, but be paid for it. Okay, as a micro-urban farmer, a small farmer. And we're gonna have a meeting on that January 18th, and that's working with the Department of Human Services on that local food supply through food pantries, and that Mr. Lofton has more information than I do on that, and the State Department has more information as well. And that's why we want to make the public more aware of that, and particularly our local leadership and the mayors, and how that's an opportunity to grow this urban farm market. The other, I'm back to the question now with NRCS, on the point system. One is practices. Now, the other area, you gave a list of all these areas what is considered, the social disadvantage category being one, veteran being another, and I think you give about 5 or 6. Yeah, okay, limited resource. So individual that fall within those categories, social disadvantage, say, farmers of color, our female that would fall into social disadvantage.
Females for NRC, on FSA side, females are considered,
Sometimes.
so, and on NRCS side, they are not.
Okay.
So that's above my, I don't.
But your pay grade,
And some of these ranking pools, we don't know the questions ahead of time. So year to year, it does change. But those are always criteria that play into either the payment you would receive or into your ranking score.
So that information that she gave previously, and I wanted her to come back to that. One is the point system. Two, how important it is in making the application for a sign up, that you're checking all these areas that apply, because it's beneficial for you in dealing with the point system on your application being selected for a contract for either equip, or other program areas. Now, you said that they have lessened the size of the hoop house, so it can be small enough for backyards. Now, this is an assumption, probably more or less than a question. Now, it's my understanding from Farm Service Agency, the smallest size you can go to get a farm number is a 10 by 10, am I right?
That's the smallest software will let us draw off.
Okay, it's a 10 by 10. So you can have a micro-urban farm that's smaller than 10 by 10. But in RCS, and correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot do a 10 by 10 hoop house.
Correct.
Okay,
There is a minimum size, and we do have very specific standards and specifications for any structure we build. So anything, and what I have done in the past is if somebody is interested in high tunnel, I'll say, well, if you've seen some kits, because sometimes these kits will say right on them, when you look in your gardening books, they'll say meets NRCS standards and specs. And so I'll say, just email me that or bring it in and I'll look at it and have my civil engineering technician look at it, because we want to make sure whatever you get would match our standards, because I want to make sure that if you put it up, that I can, make sure your cost share gets sent to you. So we would work through that process step by step. And I'm not gonna let you put up something that you can't, well, I'm gonna try not to let you put up something that we can't help you pay for. So we work through that process. I had somebody that really wanted this one specific one, but it did not meet our standards. And so, we looked at it, I showed him all the spots and, I told him to call the company. A lot of it is in the poles and in the height, and then the gauge of the metal is really important too, because we want it to stand up against Mississippi County wind at the end of the day. We don't want something that we're helping pay for to blow away in the first windstorm we get some weather here. So, that's a big part of why we have very specific standards, is so it lasts. But I would work with you on that. And I'm not gonna say I have all the answers, but I'm not afraid to go to my supervisors or to civil engineering technicians and ask those questions. If you come at me with a question I don't know the answer to, I'm happy to dig for it. But, and like I said, this urban stuff, it's kind of new, so I'm learning it as we go, and our state office is kind of putting more and more guidance out every week too. So I'm happy to work with you, and we'll figure it out for sure.
I have one other question. Now, because she mentioned the word pay, I want to make sure that when she say pay, the maximum amount that is covered under the program, the program cost that is covered by NRCS, is it still up to 90% of that cost is covered by NRCS?
Well, it's 90% of our estimated cost. So if you pay too much for some, I'm saying this, don't mean it in a mean way, but I've had somebody that just got ripped off and paid way too much for something. And so it is an estimated cost given to us by our state office, and the cost is usually 65 to 90%. And you would know that when you signed, what your cost share would be when you signed up. It's not going to be a surprise. We go through all of that before you sign on the dotted line on the contract. But you know what you're going to pay, and then you might have to shop around to find the best one that would meet our standards. But you would, like I said, you would know how much your portion was going to be beforehand. Yeah, but it's usually 90%. We have had some years, like during the pandemic, when plastic pipeline just went absolutely through the roof. It got ridiculous. It was just a supply issue. And so, those people that had contracts were like, once it's written, so what they did, a lot of them ended up, we gave them extensions on their contract. They waited till those prices came back down, and then we proceeded with the contract. So we do have some flexibility in our, even though it is, there's not completely flexible, but we can work with you as much as possible to help you through those situations. Sometimes weather, we've had projects that we think we're going to get done in November, and then we get a really bad, so, we can do extensions if necessary.
And the 90% cost share, that's reimbursed?
Yeah, so you have to have the project completed, then me or my technician will go out and check and make sure it meets our standards and specifications, and then you would be issued your cost share.
And if one wanted an advance on that 90%, do you offer that?
We do. I don't know what the percentage is. It's not the full percentage. I think it's
50%.
I think it's 30, but we'll check on that if that's something you need to know about. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. I got a lot in here, but not.
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Julie, certainly appreciate it, and that was a wealth of knowledge. And I hope it's beneficial to all of you out there. So next we have in the program is Farm Service Agency, FSA, IRA, and ARPA, Resource Opportunities, USDA and FSA, Farm Service Agency representatives here. We have Eric death rate in Sundra solving.
Just me, okay.
And they're gonna touch bases on air property, micro urban farming, conservation, program, CRP. Okay.
Is this one? Yeah. Okay. For all the stuff that she's been wanting to help you along with, you have to come see us first so that you can be input to our systems that talk to back and forth to each other to give you a farm number. And the first thing there we're gonna need is deed to the ground, ownership. If it's not yours, you know, we need you to get a lease contract with, when you bring in the ground. If you're gonna operate as an entity, we'll need paperwork for that, so that we can set you completely up to exist in our paperwork world or electronic world, so that when you go to apply for these programs, you exist and we know where you exist. On our side of it, it's more of a record keeping type thing. Now, you'll also be able to, once you get this farm up and running, you can come in and certify with us saying that, hey, I've got X number of acres of this crop out here for this year. And we will load it in our system. And if there's programming material available, monies that come up because you turned it in to us in a timely fashion or before an event, and I've got this out here, you know, it got damaged by X, Y, or Z, you know, what, you know, and there's a program out there that says that we can help you with that. You've already established that you had it there beforehand. It is so much easier on us and you as a participant to have established that it's out there before an event happens. Or if it's, you know, if it's still there, you know, if it's a year later, we're at a loss. We can't really help you all that much if there's no evidence that it was there. But hey, if you planted it a month ago, the event happened a month later, and it's 2 weeks later, hey, I needed to go to the FSA office and ask them about this. We have a chance of being able to assist you. Our NAP program, which is for fruits and vegetables, or non-traditional, shall we say, crops, not so much row crop, even though watermelons and pumpkins that we discussed earlier are in that category, and they are grown on 40s. You can apply for NAP insurance through us at a reduced rate for traditionally underserved producers or beginning farmers. The first year that you grow that crop, you can, if you're an underserved producer, you can get it pretty much for free, with the caveat that you can only get it at a 50-55 level, a catastrophic coverage, because you don't have any history for us to reach back to of growing that crop. But every year after that, you get up to a higher level of coverage and participate that way. But you'll have to come in a timely fashion, or after the first year, you'd have to come in a timely fashion to say, hey, I'm going to grow this crop this year. I want the NAP coverage, and we'll sign you right up for it. And if you're the traditionally underserved, there's no particular charge. But when you buy up, it is literally a buy up. There is a charge that comes at the back end after the growing season. But for underserved, isn't it halved for the buy up? So that's made that much more attractive, because previously it was $325 a crop if for coverage, up to whatever 3 times that is, more or less. So unless you were doing a whole bunch of them and doing a whole lot of acres, it was kind of a penalty if you wanted to play. And if you just had a yard, so was that put it as your growing spot, that was financially a little bit of a burden to justify. I'm gonna pay y'all $325 for, I'm just gonna grow corn out here, sweet corn. And if something horrible happens to it, y'all might give me some money. That's kind of hard to sell to a producer who's, especially one who's not accustomed to dealing with us and saying, I'm just giving y'all, they're looking at it from perspective, I'm just giving y'all money for nothing. I can't prove that y'all ever will do anything. And however, I have a personal attitude of it's better to buy insurance and never need it than need it and not have it. But it also gets to the point where if you're just so small, the price of the crop that you put in might not be worth the $325 that you're insuring it against. And the on the NAP side of it, being the beginning farmer, socially disadvantaged, and it includes female in our world. And that's another thing that we share a lot of stuff, but we don't always share exactly the same. It gets into who is pushing harder at what level for whatever it is that's desired. But currently, we have, well, earlier this year, we called producers that had been in our system for years and had them fill out the form saying that, hey, I'm female. I could get a little bit more of what y'all are giving out because of, but prior to the last few years, it didn't make any difference. They paid out at this level for the entity period or for the owner, regardless of whether or not they were a protected category. This is what we paid and that was it. Well, they've been going more and more to, they'll give them a little bit of a bigger slice of it. Not a totally different pie, they'll just give them a little bit more than what they had been traditionally given. On disaster programs especially.
Dr. King has already mentioned, I'm sorry, let me step forward so you can hear me better. Dr. King has mentioned the issues that are faced with heirs property. When an example would be a great grandmother, great grandfather owned the land back in 1920s. And the deed has never been updated. So now there might be a collection of heirs that all have an interest in that property. One person might want to do something with it, but they can't do anything because there is no current deed for them to do anything. Here at USDA, we have the heirs property program. It's a relending program where you can apply to participate in the program and there's money available to help if 2 or 3 of the heirs want to buy out the remaining heirs. It's a loan program available to help resolve the title issues so that it can get cleaned up so that people don't feel like they're stuck in stagnant waters, not able to do anything with that property. The relending program, USDA has put some rules in it and put some money behind it. So it's like there's bumpers on it. So you can't just wander off into left or right field or it's to try to help so that people don't get taken advantage of. Part of the fees for what the loan can be used for is to cover the fees, the professional fees, the title company, the heir search. One of those 2 or 3 of those heirs, they might live in Alaska and Hawaii. How do we get in touch with them? We don't know. It's to help cover some of that, to make it feasible for people to get that clean title. Part of the program also is to set plans in place so that families or individuals don't end up back in the same boat. It's to help get that established so that somebody else doesn't face this down the road. There's one lender that's working nationally that's already approved. It is a process that's going on, and I know Dr. King's organization is really helping with this, people to understand that there's resources here. We want to help, we want to make things happen. In terms of just participating in FSA programs, we have a little bit more flexibility to If you don't have that clean title, we can work with you a little bit to, depending on the documentation you have. If you have land that you might want to use as a farmland, if it's a house in town. And we could work with you to see what documentation you have. It might not be a deed, but there might be sufficient documentation so that this land you have in your backyard is something that we could get you a farm number for. So again, come talk to us, come call us. We're here to help. We want to do the best we can for you.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. King, you got something.
Right, another question on FSA side. What? I have both question and some statement yet to Eric. One, you gave reference to this. You say sign up and the sign up certification. That's to certify your crop. Number one was one of the first important things.
Get establishing a farm number and then.
That's the farm number, and
Then if you plant a crop, come tell us.
that is planted.
That it's planted, what you've planted, when you planted it, if it's irrigated or non-irrigated, and if you share it with somebody else, like owner and operator do, 75-25 as a common rent arrangement, how you rent it. If they're taking 25% of the crop, they're getting 25% of the crop or proceed, of the crop. Because if they're taking cash rent, you certify it 100% to yourself because you've given the landowner X number of dollars for control of that ground. And that takes them out of eligibility for any of our money because USDA wants you to be at risk of loss for us to compensate you.
Okay. And you have two sign up processes. One, and they're different time periods. I'm thinking, one is on the net. Now, it's important that individuals, if you're going to plant a particular crop, vegetable crop, there are scheduled time periods if you're dealing with spring crop, summer crop, or fall crop. And you have sign-up time periods that you must come in to sign up for the NAP program.
To apply for the program, yes, sir.
Okay.
There are certain hit dates that you need to be in by, like the watermelons and the pumpkins that we've got currently is February 28th. I think December 31st is for like honey. And I think pecans as well.
Pecans are December 31st. Green beans are something that people have grown in the county. That is the February 28th date. It staggers. It starts all the way in November and continues on through the year, depending on what the crop is. You can come talk to us, and if you're new and you've missed the date, it's okay. I can't promise that you'll get coverage, but we do have provisions to help people. We can write a letter. We can ask for, you can say, hey, I knew I didn't quite understand this. I'm going to be planting this crop in January, but we haven't gotten there yet. So you haven't experienced any loss for it yet. So we can ask our county committee and our state committee to say, hey, we've got somebody here. This is not going to affect what happens. Can we offer relief? I can't promise they'll offer it, but I will certainly help in terms of getting the information to them to look into offering that relief.
So I want to make sure that there's clarity in three different areas. One, the farm number. Second is whatever crop enterprises that they decide that they're going to raise, then they should be aware of the sign-up time period for those crops in order to get NAP coverage. And believe me, people, NAP is very important if you're investing something into the crop to really mitigate, to minimize your risk factor in loss. So that's what NAP insurance is all about. And then the other is certification of the crop. The sign up for certification is once you have planted, then come in to certify that crop has been planted, and it's within that season. Production season of that particular crop, say it's spring, summer, fall crop.
The normal certification due by date is July 15th.
Right.
However, if you plant it after the July 15th date, you have 15 days after you plant it to come tell us. But and that's still back to in the NAP category, you have to have picked out the NAP and picked out all the crops that you might be planting for the year and get them covered long before we hit the certification date. Because like watermelons, you can plant watermelons, okay, crickets, was it June 15th or something like
Through June 15th.
through June 15th, so that's way late in the planting season for most crops. But fruits and vegetable wise, usually they're early planting.
So I'm gonna use double crop as an example. I'm gonna use squash. You have, spring squash,
Mhm.
summer squash,
Mhm.
fall squash.
Mhm.
Of course, some do 3, but in most cases, they will do 2 on the same land. Spring and then fall, based on weather condition. So when they sign up, they would sign up that they're gonna plant double crop squash, spring and fall.
Yes, sir.
And then once they're planted within the time period of the spring crop, then they certify.
And certify.
And then for the fall period, they would come in and certify that they planted the fall crop,
Yes,
but they've already signed up for the NAP
yes,
at the same time
yes,
for both seasons.
yes.
Okay, all right. My last question has to do, it's coming back to the air property. On the, and I know hopefully the mayor's office I know the mayor's office is familiar with this. And I know in a lot of cases in the urban areas, as well as rural areas, I mean, this again, it's a common problem. The air property and the loan program will, and this may be a question that has to be asked to the third party lender on the air property. If a disgruntled heir has filed a petition to the court, and the court decree, which normally, and this is under the Unified Air Property Act, that's the new law in Arkansas. And so the court decree by the judge is that they must first offer that property to the remaining heirs at market value. Will that document serve as a major support document to get the loan, without having to?
That would be a question for the lender that would actually
Sure.
processing the loan. It's not something that.
For the
we-
one property doing that already, okay. Okay, I just wanted to ask, that's all.
Oh, we didn't hear her aunt.
I said that would be a question for the lender that's actually processing the loan. They have standards that they have to meet for documentation also.
And this is to the ordinance, the reason I asked that question, that's the new law that came into effect in Arkansas, one that we worked very hard for about 15 or 20 years to get passed, along with our membership that we advocated for. But under the Unified Air Property Act, normally through the courts, with the court decree itself, that it will identify who the heirs are. And of course, the one who has filed the lawsuit for that petition, to have the property sold or to get that interest out. So that all comes in the context of that petition process and the court decree. And the reason I say, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because while the loan itself may be used for identifying the heirs and other things that could be required in dealing with air property, if one is so dissatisfied to say, I want my interest out of this property and, you got to pay me, you may want to encourage them to file a petition in the court. Because then it's going to go through a court proceeding in order for that to occur. And what normally the law provides for is that they have to offer it to the remaining heirs who do not want to sell, who have been identified through that court process by the disgruntled individual. So you have that documented as something the ones who do not want to sell would have to go through the process of, say, a part of our loan is to deal with the heirs and finding the heirs, because the court proceeding would have done that. That's one. And that's, in dealing with any loan officer and the base of evidence and justification as to what you get in a loan for simply. All right.
Okay, and if there isn't any other questions,
I would just like to have Julie and Eric tell the location where you're all located, where they've been bid your office.
3137 West Kaiser in Osceola. So if you know where the Farm Bureau office is, we're just right there beside it. It's a big brick building on the highway there, before the first red light. So happy to come visit us. Extension is now in our office as well. So University of Arkansas Extension Service is with us also. They used to be here at the little white building in the courthouse grounds, and they've moved over to Osceola. So it's really a one-stop shop now to see all of us.
Our sister agencies are across the hall, literally from each other. So if you come see one, you can see the other. This is easy.
One shop, one stop, one stop.
It's actually called the USDA Service Center.
Yes. Okay, thank you all. Sure, Brooks is not here. Farm loan side, no one is here. Not, we're gonna continue. Okay, I'm sorry.
You know, what you heard from with Farm Service Agency was all on the program side. Farm Service Agency has two sides. Program side, getting the farm number, all the other things offered with NAP, the issues with air property, those CSP conservation, not conservation, conservation stewardship practices, the conservation reserve, CRP. I said CRP and said CSP, Conservation Reserve Program. Is another program, is on the program side. If you have larger, piece of land or small farm that you want to put into the Conservation Reserve Program with Farm Service. But Farm Service Agency has the financing side on both the direct lending side and the loan guarantee side. If you have a particular lender and you want to just do business with your bank, then they can give up to a 90% guarantee on that direct loan from the bank. And some people like to do that, and some cases, others like to go with the direct side because the added benefits if you go on with the direct loan side. On the direct loan side, and I'm not going to get into the exact dollar figure, but maybe more, maybe less. But I'm thinking on the loan guarantee side for the direct loan, that the maximum amount is $1.8 million on the loan guarantee side with a direct lender. Don't hold me to that. To get the specific, it could be more, could be less, but I would encourage you to contact FSA through the Farm Service Center, get the specifics on that information. On the direct lending side, which means you go directly to Farm Service Agency and make application for a direct loan. They have the regular loan and they have the micro loan. The micro loan, and we have some individuals that are more the micro or small scale farming operations, and the maximum amount of that loan is $50,000. They use one application, and Mike, I hope I'm right on this, Mr. Tucker, they use one application for all the loans now. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there used to be at one time, they had an application for the microloan program and an application for the regular loan program. One application for either loan that you want to apply for on the direct loan side. Again, the microloan, $50,000. For the regular loan program, for an operating loan, it is $600,000. And I'm gonna defer to my farm advisor specialist, Michael Tucker, on that, on lending program. 600,000, am I right?
For the regular one,
Yes,
it's 400, I think.
400. Is the 600,000 on the capital for land purchase?
I think so. I'm not for sure on that one.
Okay, anyway, you have the direct loan and then you have the micro loan, but on the direct loan program side, and Mike corrected me, it's $400,000 for the regular operating loan. And again, contact the FSA to get the specifics on that. I think on the capital loan side, say that you're gonna be purchasing land with a direct loan. I think the maximum on that is $600,000 on the micro loan, on the regular loan program side. That's for land purchases. And basically meaning, you have, I think, 20 to 30 years on capital investments for the direct loan for the land purchase sides of it. Then on the $400,000 on a regular operating loan, that's used for all your operating expenses, including equipment. If you had to purchase certain types of equipment, be it a tractor, attachments and stuff for the tractor that's going to be utilized in the farming operation, all that's involved as a part of the operating loan or the budget for the operating loans. As well as livestock, we get into a livestock operation, your breeding stock, of course, you purchase your breeding stock, that'll be a part of the operating loan. You have a longer period of time to pay off the inventory purchase for your breeding stock, versus what will be your regular operating expenses such as feed costs and things of that nature. Fencing would be the same thing. Again, contact the FSC on that. I'm going to say I think the maximum time period to pay off the breeding stock inventory is 7 years, and for what they call permanent fencing in the farming operation for livestock, I think the same time period would apply on that. 7 years on the payoff on that. Regular operating expenses at the end of the 12-month period, you're to pay back the regular operating expenses. The same thing applies on your micro loan up to $50,000. There's not a minimum that I've seen on the micro loan, but again, for smaller scale operations, we have worked with individuals who put up after putting up the hoop houses, they had surrounding land that they would say was on 5 acres, and they were producing crops on that was for marketing purposes, and they applied for an operating loan under the micro loan program. On the capital side, same thing would apply. A longer period of time for repayment, $50,000 being the maximum. One may be purchased 2 acres or 3 acres of land that they're going to be farming as a small farmer or a micro farmer dealing with vegetable crop production. Same thing would apply on that longer period of time to pay back. I think the maximum is 30 years, but at least up to 20 years on the repayment time period for that. Last point I want to make on the FSA side, that's a part of our service of what we do. We work with farmers in developing those farm business plans. And I would encourage you, because FSA on the program side getting reference to this, giving the feasibility aspects of if you do a buy-up on your crop for NAP, on the NAP side of it, get a farm plan. The information is available. And I appreciate the information that was sent to me by FSA also. I meant to say that earlier. FSA sent me some very good information regarding market and the market numbers and what you put into this business plan and dealing with the vegetable crops. But have a farm plan done. That is one way to make a determination on what's cost effective to doing a buy-up on NAP, or not doing a buy-up and only going with the catastrophic, insurance sides of it. You'll be amazed on what the potential income is off of small scale acreage. And again, where we're working with expanding market opportunities now, local food supply, having a letter of intent, a letter of will from the Department of Human Services to purchase from you with your urban micro farm is very crucial. You heard Farm Service Agencies, NRCS said, showing where you have market opportunities, how you're going to market that crop. Are you going to give it away 1 or 2? That's the local local food supply side of it and dealing with the program resources to come in from NRCS. On the feasibility aspect of it, it connects back to Farm Service Agency on justification on the program side with the crop insurance and determination of whether it's going to be viable or non-viable. The other part of that on feasibility, you have to show feasibility on the FSA side with the financing side of it as well. Does the plan cash flow based on the crop enterprise that you're going to be producing, and that connecting back to where the market opportunity is that exists. So that's FSA, farm, lending side of it, and we do work with individuals on that and partnering with USDA, FSA, and the same thing with any information that's needed as relates to FSA on the program side. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to ask them.
Thank you, Dr. King. Is there any other questions? If not, we're gonna move on to rural development. And we have Trisha Davis and Tammy Moser.
So, as Ms. Williams said, my name is Trisha Davis. I'm with the Rural Development Office out of Jonesboro. I work with their single family housing programs. And kind of switching gears, like I said, we're going to housing. Our programs are designed to help low and very low income applicants find or repair their house so it's decent, safe, and in good condition for living. Our first program is our direct home loan program to purchase or build property. These are low interest rate loans, no down payment. Right now, interest rate's 4.5%. The loan term is 33 years. So that helps keep your monthly loan payments down. And then for Mississippi County, the entire single family housing staff is working the entire state now. So if you want to apply for any of these programs, beforehand, Mississippi County had to work with Jonesboro, but if y'all are closer to Forest City, depending where you're located, you can go there for assistance as well, or we can help you in the Jonesboro office. As far as requirements for the property, it just has to be in a rural area. Mississippi County is all defined as rural, so you don't have to worry about that really. And then I'll kind of touch on our single family housing repair loan and grant program. This is only for very low income applicants. So if you have a household of 4 or lower, the maximum income that you could make and qualify for this program would be $31,700 for the total household income. But this program is used to remove safety and health hazards from your home. So the maximum loan amount is $40,000 with the 1% interest rate over 20 years. Usually the payments on those are pretty low. And then the grant that we have for people who are 62 or older, they just raised it up to $10,000. And that is used for the same remove safety and health hazards. So definitely both of these programs are super great opportunities for you guys to either become homeowners or to maybe improve living conditions if you guys have leaks in your roof, if you are needing to make a home ADA accessible, different things like that. No down payments, so you don't really have to come with money to the table except for possibly closing costs. So definitely great opportunities there, but I guess I'll turn it over to Tammy now, and she can speak on some of our other programs.
Okay, I am Tammy Moser. I work primarily with community facilities, loans and grants, which Dr. King mentioned that with rural development, we can really come in and build a community from the ground up. There's not a whole lot in a community we don't do. One of the main things that I've processed right now is doing things for fire departments, police departments, providing equipment for those departments that need funding that don't have all the funds available to them. The community facilities would be done through a nonprofit or through your local governments. If you have volunteer fire departments, they're also possibly eligible. For one thing that I looked at before I came down was things that farmers might be interested in. And I don't know a lot about these programs. I'm just gonna tell you right up front, not my specialty. It's all handled through our state office. There's a really good program out there for REAP. It's Rural Energy for American program. If you drive around the communities in Arkansas, you may run into like just overloads of solar panels on these farms. That's done through these REAP programs that if you are interested in, I would recommend that you contact our state office. I have left some flyers in the foyer there that has the contact name and some additional information for this program. I think it's a really good program that is being utilized around here. The value added grant, again, this is something out of our state office. It can be used for working capital expenses, marketing, salary expenses to get your product out there. Again, that is through our state office. If you wanted to do anything with the community facilities, if you have things that need to be done around your community, you can have them contact me, or you can contact me. And that's really about all I've got.
All right, is there any questions?
Do you have any literature, what you just spoke on?
Yeah,
Some of it I couldn't hear.
I have left out in the lobby area, there's brochures and handouts on all the programs that I've just mentioned.
Okay, okay, and yours as well for the housing you were talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good.
So tell me, it does have your location where you are, to your contact information out there.
Right, Tricia and I are both located in the Jonesboro office, but we serve an 11 county area. So anywhere in northeast Arkansas, we would handle out of the Jonesboro office. Again, the REAP program is handled out of the state office, and I have got those contacts out there in the lobby.
Trish, did you say that all of Mississippi County is considered rural?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In the 11 counties that Jonesboro services, the only area that is not rural is Jonesboro city limits itself.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and some, I guess more of a comment as well. One, on the housing side, I know you have $40,000 and $50,000 that's dealing with the rehab program on single family housing. And then, of course, you have the regular housing program, direct loan program. The same criteria is on income for the new construction as it is for the purchase of a home as it is on the renovation.
So the purchase of a home, you can be in the low or very low income category. So for a household of 1 to 4 applicants, the max income for the total household to purchase a home would be $50,700. So that income limit is a little higher than the repair program. And then if you were over that income limit, we do have a USDA guaranteed home loan, but that wouldn't be handled in our office. What you would do is you would go to a traditional lender, tell them you're interested in the guaranteed program. Very similar requirements to be determined eligible, but they do go a little higher. They go up to the moderate income level, which is up to 90, 100,000. So that should, hopefully help you out if you're above income level.
And that's a big difference. I just hope the ordinance is clear on the $31,000 being the maximum income level. That was under the rehab program, the $40,000 loan and the $10,000 grant. Renovation, rehab. Under the new home construction or purchasing a home, it's up to $50,000 as the maximum income. Same number for household, am I right?
Yes,
Yeah,
so 1 to 4 members.
Yeah.
If you have 5 to 8 people in the household, the income jumps up to 66,900.
Okay, from 5 to 8
Yeah.
in the household,
And
okay.
then anything above 8, we would just adjust it depending on.
And the maximum loan amount is how much?
Right now, it's, I believe, 336,700.
336,000? Okay, so,
So it's subject to change every year whenever they come out. It's been growing each year, as well as the income limits seem to have increased each year. But that's what it is as of today.
okay, my next questions, with the plural, is on the community economic development side. I know you talked about the REAP program, the energy program, and I've seen that how they work with farmers, again, the solar panels and other things, but that applies to housing as well? The REAP program?
I don't believe it does. I believe it's just farmers, but again, I'm not real familiar with that program because it is completely handled out of our state office.
Okay.
They just sent me some information this morning to bring down, and I apologize.
What about community facilities? The applies to community facilities?
As far as the REAP goes,
Yeah, the REAP, yes.
no, that would be a separate.
That's a separate, but it's a grant program on, I mean, I know you have community facilities, on the grant loan program, new construction and things of that nature. But the energy program, so that grant program would not apply to if they wanted to upgrade, certain things, more energy efficient in the mayor's office, fire department, things
I
like that.
believe they would go, if the fire department wanted to do that, they would have to go through the state office to get that.
To get the REAP.
Right, right.
Okay. My other question, I know that, there are a number of other, I know you have the infrastructure, and then we have on the business side, both the loan program and the grant program. One was called it used to be called the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program. I think they kind of changed the name on that now.
The RBAG.
RBAG, that's why they call it the RBAG, Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program. Now, eligibility for that is who's eligible?
Again, that is a program that is handled completely in the state office. I can't give you any information on that. Again, there's flyers out there. I apologize. It's
That's okay, right, I understand. I'm trying to miss the benefit of the mayor's office being here. As I understand it from the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program, that's available both for municipalities, on the government side, as well as for nonprofit organizations, the Rural Business Enterprise Grant. Along it's going to be addressing, it could be expansion of business, it could be a grant that is going to deal with creating job opportunities itself, creating other type of business enterprises. But that's the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program. So where you may have existing businesses in the area that has an opportunity to expand based on market demand, and that's going to require add on to an existing facility or an additional facility. The city can apply for those grants, both for construction, acquisition of property, and equipping, with a certain type of agreement between the city and the business enterprise. Now, what's very important, about that, be it for a nonprofit or municipality, is that if you apply for that and say you're going to build this facility for this business that's going to have this type of impact on new job opportunities, then you must have an existing business that has agreed to locate in that particular business facility that, say, the city or the nonprofit organization is going to build. That's on the RBAG program. They also have what they call the BNI program, the Business and Industrial Loan Program. And the Business and Industrial Loan Program made available directly to business enterprise if you apply, and that is through the state. That businesses may apply for that particular loan if you're dealing with new business startup as well as business expansion and job creation on the loan program side. That business and industrial loan can be done, I think, both as a direct loan and as a loan guarantee. Now, I was reading some information here recently where there's a partnership now between both USDA, Rural Development, and Small Business Administration, because there is a priority in better servicing rural communities, particularly the underserved rural communities. There's going to be a meeting, and I forgot the date. I want to say January 24th. I don't know. I like this when I get information, make sure I send it there. Is that today? Okay, Jack. See, that's why I have to send everything to everybody else. I may read it, then I found it, I lose it, can't find it no more after that. So I sent to everybody else, hold them responsible for letting me know I got it right. So, but January 24th, I think it's going to be in Little Rock. It's going to be in Little Rock, and where these priorities are being set now to serve the underserved communities. Those who have been underserved communities and dealing with economic development. I think it's a great partnership. I talked with one of the people that's working with it out of the national office, and we've done some work together in the past. But that's one of the priority programs that they're dealing with now for rural areas. And Arkansas, or the majority of Arkansas, would definitely fall in that category. I really hope not just the state office, but they have local office people there too, and regional office people that will be attending that particular meeting on January 24th. I want to correct myself on one other thing. Ms. Williams just showed me. I gave misinformation on that direct loan, operating loan for Farm Service Agency. It's not $400,000. It's $500,000 for a direct operating loan. And when I mentioned the benefits of the direct loan versus the loan guarantee with the private sector banks, and this is really a biggie right now. But one of the greatest advantages of the direct loan with FSA is interest rates. I don't know what that interest rate is now, but it's normally considerably less than what the interest rates are when you're dealing with traditional banking institution with the loan guarantee. And normally it falls from 3.7% or 4+ % versus where a lot of the banks are running anywhere from 7 to 8+ % on the interest rate, and that makes a big difference when you start to look at your overall costs, particularly dealing with some of the financially distressed operations that are taking place, be it big, small, or whichever. In farming operation and things going to occur. That's all I have. I want to say to Ms. Irby, here in the absence of the mayor, we're looking forward to working with you, and I sincerely hope that the city of Blytheville, in partnership with USDA and the city council, will set a priority for micro-urban farm in Blytheville, and make this the micro-urban farm agricultural economic growth center for micro-urban farm. Now, I'd love to be able to tell the Department of Human Services that and how that's going to work dealing with food disparities and local food supply in Northeast Arkansas. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. King. I just want to thank Rural Development, Tammy and Tricia, Julie and Eric, and thank you all for coming. And thank you all for coming here.
And let's give them a hand, people. I appreciate it.